So, at some point in your patent journey, whether you're an in-house IP counsel, a patent manager, or a founder protecting your innovation, you're going to need a patent attorney or a law firm to prosecute your applications. And when that moment comes, the question is, how do you actually evaluate them? Do you go by reputation, referrals, a quick look at their website? The problem with that approach is there's no real data behind it. You're making one of the most consequential decisions in your IP strategy largely on gut feel. That's where Prosecutor Analysis in the TIP tool comes in. It gives you real prosecution data on any attorney or law firm so you can evaluate them, compare them, and choose with confidence. Let's walk through it. So once you're logged into the TIP tool, take a look at the top navigation menu. You'll see several tabs up there: Examiner Analysis, Portfolio Analysis, and others. Go ahead and click on Prosecutor Analysis. That takes you straight to the search dashboard. Now in the search bar, type the attorney's name or the law firm's name. The tool will start auto-suggesting matches as you type. You can start broad at the law firm level for a wider view, or go straight to an individual attorney for a more precise picture. Select the right match and click Analyze. Alright, so the first thing you'll see at the top is the prosecutor's identity card. You've got their name, law firm, license years, office address, phone number, and USPTO registration number. Now, this might seem like basic stuff, but it actually matters, especially when attorneys share common names or have moved between firms. This confirms you've got the right person before you start reading into their numbers. Right below that is the allowance rate chart, and this is honestly the most important section on the entire page. Here's the thing. An allowance rate on its own tells you almost nothing. Say an attorney has a 75% allowance rate. Is that good? Is that bad? You genuinely can't tell without knowing who they were working with and what art units their cases fell under. That's exactly what this chart solves. It uses 4 concentric arcs. The outer arc shows the prosecutor's own allowance rate. The second arc shows the prosecutor's average group art unit allowance rate. The third arc is the allowance rate of the specific examiners this prosecutor worked with. And the innermost arc is those examiners' GAU average. The outer arc is color-coded. Red means they're more than 10% below their GAU average, underperforming. Orange or yellow means they're roughly in line with the benchmark. Green means they're beating their GAU by more than 10%. So, let me explain with an example of why context matters. Say you see an 88% allowance rate showing in orange. You might think, just average. But look closer. If their examiners averaged 85% and the GAU is around 80%, that 88% is actually beating both benchmarks, suggesting it's no doubt a good prosecutor to work with. Without this chart, you'd completely miss that. Scroll down and you'll see this Prosecutor Profile Table. This is where you get the full picture in one place. You got total applications, granted patents, allowance rate with a color-coded badge, abandoned cases, pending applications, average grant time, and average office actions. All of that side by side for the prosecutor, their group art units, the examiners they worked with, and those examiners' GAUs. And right below the table, the tool actually writes out a plain English summary tying all those numbers together. Really helpful if you're sharing this with someone who doesn't want to read through a table. Now, what you're really looking for here is efficiency. If a prosecutor averages 1.5 years to grant and their examiners typically take 2.1 years, that gap is meaningful. Fewer office actions, shorter timelines, that directly affects your legal costs. The next section gives you precise timing data, shortest, average, and longest time to issuance, for the prosecutor compared to the examiners they worked with. Same breakdown for office actions before issuance. And then right below that, you'll see a bar chart showing which group art units this prosecutor has worked in most, with their allowance rate in each one. This tells you whether this prosecutor's experience actually applies to your case. Strong numbers in the wrong art unit just don't help you. Next is the RCE Trend section. Now RCE stands for Request for Continued Examination. That's filed when prosecution needs to continue after a final rejection. And, they cost time and money. The pie chart breaks down granted cases by how many RCEs were needed, none, 1, 2, or 3, or more. But the stat to really watch is on the right side. What actually happened when an RCE was filed? Did it lead to allowance? Or did those cases get abandoned anyway? Low RCE rate plus high RCE success rate, that's efficient prosecution. High RCE rate with frequent abandonments, that's a red flag. After that, you'll see how quickly the prosecutor typically responds after receiving a rejection and how that compares to the examiners they work with. Two charts side by side, one for final rejections and one for non-final rejections, with minimum, average, and maximum turnaround times for both. And this is one of those sections that comes up a lot in practice, because one of the most common questions from inventors is we just responded, when do we hear back? This section answers that with actual data, so you're setting real expectations instead of leaving people in the dark. Keep scrolling and you've got the allowance trend, year over year. Green bars for granted, red for abandoned, blue for pending. Toggle between filing year and grant year to see how performance has shifted over time. Now, a strong historical average can hide recent changes. An attorney who is performing really well 3 or 4 years ago might be struggling today. Or the opposite, someone inconsistent before might have really sharpened up recently. The trend view is how you catch that before you commit. Next, you'll see office actions compared against the group art unit. Side-by-side bars showing the percentage of cases that had no office action, a non-final rejection, or a final rejection for the prosecutor versus their GAU. And you can click into any bar to drill deeper. Click the NFR bar, and you'll see how many cases got 1 non-final rejection, 2, 3, or more. 1 round of prosecution is a very different situation from 3, both in terms of time and cost. Then the office actions trend pie chart. This focuses on granted cases and breaks them down by how many total office actions were involved. None, 1, 2, 3, or more. On the right, you'll see average days to allowance at each stage. The number to pay attention to here, is how many cases got granted with 0 office actions. That's a sign of well-drafted applications passing examination cleanly, faster timelines and lower legal costs for you. And finally, the popular applicants section. This shows which companies this prosecutor has represented most, along with their allowance rate for each one. Now this does 2 things. First, it tells you where their real experience comes from. A prosecutor with deep enterprise portfolio experience is a very different profile from one who mostly handles early-stage startup filings. Second, and this one's critical, it's your conflict check. If this attorney regularly works with your competitors, you need to know that before you engage them. Even if there's no formal legal conflict, it's something you need to factor in. So that's the full Prosecutor Analysis feature in the TIP tool. For more guides like this, visit our help center at help.triangleip.com. And if you're not already using the TIP tool, head over and give Prosecutor Analysis a try on your next attorney evaluation. And if you're already familiar with the TIP tool, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be the first to get notified about new feature rollouts and how to use them.